Hey everyone, it's Ken Puls with you. And in this week, I'm going to show you a cool question that came out of our self-service Business Intelligence Academy at Skillwave in one of our Ask Ken Anything sessions. One of my students brought me this question where he said, look, I am trying to do a multi-week forecast and I update this forecast every week. It's an incredibly manual process. And what I want is I want to build sort of a cascading waterfall out of this. Is there a way that I can actually make this faster? And what I loved about this question is, number one, it was different. And number two, it got to use a technique that I've used before, but in a slightly different way. And that is appending data to a historical table for Power Query. But what's different about it is that in this case, we're going to be appending, where in the previous videos I've shown on the subject, we've been merging data to create a longer data table. So let's hop over into Excel here, and I've mocked up just a quick demo of what I'm dealing with. And the main part is that on a weekly basis, I'm going through and I'm trying to generate this forecast here for the current week and the next 4 weeks of sales. And of course, this is going to change every week, but I want to preserve that history. Now, what's actually driving this is actually less important than the fact that we should assume that there's a lot of work that goes into driving this weekly number. So I don't really want to be, copying worksheets and all the rest of it. I really want to be able to just calculate it on a weekly basis, append it to a table for future, and I want to do that nice and easy. So for my scenario, what I've set up here is we have our forecast date that we're starting with, and this will change, so I can change it to the different forecast dates. I have a lookup here that's looking up the historical information, and I can increase or decrease and override the values depending on what I want for different components. And that uses a formula to generate those values. So a little bit of work here, not super complicated. Obviously, in a real weekly forecast, it would be much more complicated. But at the end of the day, what we're looking to do is we're looking to get down to one simple set of data. Other thing that's important to understand about this is that this is my base week. This week is offset 0. So that is the week that we're starting with. This is week offset 1, 2, 3, 4. We can actually, of course, go and put these things into a nice friendly header here. I can hide that down so that when I'm building this, I don't need to see that it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. But why I did that is because this is actually quite useful for my Power Query scenario. So here's what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this up and I'm going to show you that I actually have a named range forecast defined across these cells. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and right click and I'm going to choose to get data from table or range, and we're going to pull this data into Power Query. Now, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go and I'm going to rename this one here. I'm going to call this one raw data, forecast week or something like that. Forecast week. There we go. And now I'm going to make some changes to what I actually have here. The first thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to delete the change type step because I really don't need it. I'm going to pop the first row up as headers. There we go. It's got some nice headers there. And then what I want to do is I actually want to get rid of these nulls here. So check this out. I'm going to go filter. I'm going to uncheck null. We're going to say okay. And whenever you do a filter, particularly if you are only dealing with one value in that list, you always want to look at what got coded, because this is not what I wanted at all. This is actually put in a filter to say, restrict it to that specific date. Well, that's not going to work when I change that date. So I need to change this. So I'm going to go back, I'm going to delete that filtered rows step, and I'm going to do this a different way. A couple of different ways you can, of course. You can go through your little filters. You can go date time filters. You can choose equals, is, not equals, all those kind of things. I'm actually just going to right click on this cell right here and go to date time filters. And I'm going to choose does not equal. And this will set a does not equal the value that I have right clicked. And you can see that there we go. We've got does not equal null. So that might be a quick tip that you may or may not know around working with Power Query. All right, next up, let's convert this forecast date to a date. There we go, that looks better. And then we will go right click and we will unpivot other columns. There, perfect, okay. With the data in this format, I'm now gonna grab my forecast date column. I'm gonna press Control A, we're gonna select everything. Go to transform and detect our data types, because I also need an effective date column. Okay, so what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go to add column and I'm going to go to custom column. And once this comes up, I'm going to go with target date. That's a good name. And we're going to use a little function here. We're going to go with date.add weeks. And I'm going to start with my forecast date, and I'm going to go comma, and we're going to forecast it. We're going to increase it by the number of weeks in the attribute column. So one quick little tip here. The reason why I set my data types before I did this is because when you unpivot, it always sets those columns as text-based, or at least for the attribute column anyway. If you try and actually add a number of weeks and you feed it a textual value, it does not implicitly convert it. It will throw you an error, and that is why I explicitly data type the columns first in order to get my attribute into a whole number format. All right, so with this in place, we're going to say okay, and we've now got our target date, which is showing March 8th, March 15th, offset 1 week, 22nd, and so forth. I can get rid of the attribute column. Don't need that anymore. I can set my target date as a date. That looks good there. And at this point, I really want to load this to a new query. But honestly, I don't want it called raw data forecast week. I actually want that one to sort of be the original that we had from all the way back when we filtered things out. Maybe we got back to about there. I want that to sort of be my raw data view. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm actually going to go to the unpivot other column step right here. I'm going to actually split the query at this point. But here's the thing is that I actually need the name here to be the one that I'm going to create. So I'm going to call this one forecast. Actually, we're going to go to unpivot other columns. We're going to right click and we are going to extract previous. And this will extract all the steps here into a query that this is going to reference. So we're going to go extract previous, and it says, what's the query name? So I'm just going to paste that raw data forecast week back in there. So here we go. There we are. So raw data forecast week now reads from the named range in the workbook, does its promoted header steps. So all those steps prior to the one I right clicked are now in the raw data forecast week. Everything else in forecast, this one will reference our raw data forecast week and then do the rest of the work for the unpivoting and all these different kind of things that I wanted. Did I need to split it there? Nope, not at all. Could I have landed it there and just made a new query, referenced it to build a new forecast? Yep, I could. This is a handy little thing if I want to split things apart. And now I'm just going to go home, close and load. My load defaults are customized to load to connection only by default. I don't want to load two queries here. So there we go. Now I'm going to go right click, load to. I'm going to load this to a table, and I'm actually just going to drop this on an existing worksheet. And I think I'm just going to drop it right here just so we can sort of see what's going on with things that go on there. Perfect. And now let me just reset my column widths up here to 14. And maybe I'll just quickly go and update my table here as well. We're going to go to our table properties, and we will uncheck the adjust column width so it doesn't mess this up when I'm trying to refresh. I've also realized now looking at this, there's one more thing here. I'm not really a big fan of value here. So I'm going to go back and fix that. So let me just go back into my forecast query here. And what we'll do is we'll just rename that one, and we'll call this one units. And there we go. Load. That should now refresh. Nothing should do any changes to what we have there. Oh, awesome. It inserted a new column. Love it when that happens. Let me just go and delete and shift cells back to the left. All right. Now we've got our data. In theory, we should be able to refresh all without getting any shifting of the table. I should be able to go and set this back to March 1st here, refresh, and get my March data in here. But that actually starts to show some of the problem that I'm dealing with here. And the problem is that this table is only reading the most recent week. And what I really want is when I move forward to March 8th, I want March 1st to stick around and March 8th to be appended to it. So how do I do that? And the answer is we're going to go right click on the output table, get data, and this one here, I'm going to go and make myself a new query here, which is going to be, I'm going to call this one history forecast, which is reading from the worksheet itself. Go. Make a couple little changes. We're going to set these to dates. Really wish Power Query would do this for me automatically when they're whole numbers, but it does not, unfortunately. And there we go. Perfect. Those are all set up nicely now. And now I can go back over to my forecast table. Remember, this is the one that's loading to the worksheet. And we can go and append queries. And we are going to append the history forecast there. Now, the problem here is that you'll notice that we've now duplicated our data. So it's also a really good idea to come back here, select all columns, go right click and remove duplicates. And this will remove any duplicate where the date is equal to the date and the units match and the target date matches. So it would have to be an exact duplicate across all of these columns put together before it gets removed. Okay, so with this in place, I can now go and say close and load. This is going to reload this table again, although nothing really changes here because there's no changes to the data. And now I can go and say, hey, let's go and get our March 8th forecast. And I think this one here, I want to increase by 5%. And now if I go refresh all, the March data should come in here. Nice and easy. There we go. I can now go and say, let's move forward to March 15th. I don't want a 5% increase there. I actually want to put it over here. And let's go and refresh here. Bingo, that looks great. Let's go and pick up a March 22nd one. We'll choose no increases on any of these, and we'll choose refresh. You know, obviously there's going to be more work done with this thing in order to try and get the right values into it. I'm just trying to go through quickly as a demo. I hide that off. I've now got something that's building out. This would obviously probably be on a different worksheet, no problem there. But here's what I want to do with this now. Cool thing my student was trying to actually work with was this. I've got this data, Ken. How can I actually build this waterfall forecast going? Well, they'd already done this output format. We just built this system in order to drive it. And here's how it goes. We'll go to Insert, Pivot Table, Existing Worksheet. I'm going to go and drop this one right over here for right now, just to keep it nice and easy. We'll put our forecast date on rows. We'll put our target date on columns. We'll put our units on values. And let me go and just change a pivot table option here. I'm going to clear those out. And boom, this is what we've now got, is we've got our cascading waterfall that's going. And what my student was trying to do with this was to be able to compare, you know, when I made my original prediction for here, what actually ended up happening as we worked through these processes, how close were we? So being able to see things in this kind of a format was a nice handy tool that allowed them to do that. I'm going to make one more change to this. Grand totals, we'll turn those off. There we go. And now we could go and grab one more week of values on this one here. Let's do a data refresh all. And of course, we will need to refresh the pivot table after this is done. But there we go. So we can now see our original prediction of 4091 end up at 3437. So obviously we were a little bit aggressive in the first part, and it's, you know, pared down as things move forward. So there you go. It's a cool, fun little trick here for working with stacking data. The big thing to remember is you can actually take the output of your Power Query, feed it back in as a new Power Query. But if you're going to append it to something, really good idea to deduplicate it first. And after that, you know, we can build our pivot table output as we need. So that was a cool little trick that came out of one of our Ask Ken Anything sessions. Hopefully you found it useful. We'll see you next time.